This is a special edition of Channel 3 Eyewitness News. Hope after tragedy.
4:30 is your time, and a good morning to you. We're reporting once again live this morning from Lee Highway as we approach almost 1 week after that deadly rampage began at this site. This morning we have new details, including funeral arrangements of some of those fallen Marines and that sailor. Those details coming up next. Latrice, this is some very interesting information we got yesterday that shows via the military that a Navy officer and a Marine fired their weapons hoping to either kill or in some way subdue that 24-year-old gunman before he took the lives of those 5 service members. This report coming yesterday from the Navy Times, that's a military-based publication. It cites multiple military officials familiar with this internal investigation and this reporting on this tragedy. The report shows it's still unclear if the suspect was hit by gunfire from either of those service members. It's not known why the 2 servicemen were armed. As you know, it is against Defense Department policy for anyone other than military, police, or law enforcement to carry weapons on federal property. Meanwhile, funeral arrangements are beginning to be made for some of these victims, including Staff Sergeant David Wyatt. We learned yesterday that funeral will be held Friday at 1 o'clock at Hickson United Methodist Church. He will be buried at the Chattanooga National Cemetery. And then there's Navy sailor Randall Smith. He will also be laid to rest at the Chattanooga National Cemetery. His funeral arrangements and those of the other servicemen, though, have not yet been announced. This as Georgia Governor Nathan Deal was among hundreds of mourners last night in the hometown of one of those service fallen members. 21-year-old Corporal Squire Skip Wells was praised as a hero in his hometown. And Channel 3 Eyewitness News anchor Greg Glover has more.
Skip was our hero while he was at Sprayberry, but now we share him with our country and with the world. Skip is our hero.
Words of love from some who knew him best. Lance Corporal Skip Wells was a student not long ago at Sprayberry High School in Marietta. They honored him Tuesday night. Skip's band director remembered.
If you were sad, he made sure you were happy. If you were by yourself in our program, he went and brought you and made you a part of the group. And more importantly, if you were being picked on or made to feel any less than you should, he defended you. Skip was our protector.
Prayers were offered.
Thank you for his life, a life so well lived, a life of service, a life of commitment, a life focused on others.
In a show of hometown pride, welders from Chattahoochee Tech unveiled a plaque that will mark a garden bearing the Lance Corporal's name in front of the school. The band played the naval hymn, and the service concluded with a tradition that brought grown men in uniform to tears, the reading of his final orders.
Skip Wells, United States Marine Corps, Mike Battery, 3rd Battalion, Chattanooga, Tennessee. You are relieved of your duties. We thank you for your service and your ultimate sacrifice.
I know along with the others here, your friends, the Marine Corps, and the family, we're gonna miss you. We miss you. I love you, Devil Dog. Semper Fi.
Wells comes from a family of veterans. His grandfather, great-grandfather, and father all served in the military. There was also a military flyover last night, and Gunny Ingram has asked that the ROTC classroom be named in the Lance Corporal's honor. Well, as the community prepares to lay those 5 fallen servicemen to rest at the Chattanooga National Cemetery, the City Council is banding together trying to decide if there's something they can do to keep protesters out and away from those funerals. Deputy City Attorney Phil Noblet told City Council members that federal laws passed in 2006 require demonstrations at federal cemeteries to be approved by the cemetery superintendent and could only happen an hour before or after a funeral. State laws also ban protests from happening within 500 feet, and it prohibits sound equipment or signs. Mary Stagg spoke to council members last night asking the city to look at some loopholes that federal and state laws don't cover. She's asking the city to pass a 60-day ordinance similar to one in Charleston.
Whenever you look at the laws, they're not very clear. on what state branch can do under the fallen heroes. So that led us into more looking online, making calls.
And council members agreed, voted unanimously to hold a special session and look at how the city will offer that protection. You can stay with Channel 3 for updates. Also, in the midst of all this tragedy, we do have some hope to report. Officer Dennis Pettigo, the Chattanooga police officer who was injured, is recovering in the hospital. He's going to be okay, and the city is coming together and has so far raised $15,000 for Dennis Pettigo on a GoFundMe page. Master Patrolman Pettigo was shot in the leg during a shootout with that gunman. Officials say the 17-year police veteran heard the gunshots inside the Navy Marine Reserve Center Thursday and without hesitation ran towards the bullets to protect and serve. His immediate supervisor, Sergeant Gary Martin, started a GoFundMe account for Pettigo's family, and so far this morning has raised more than $15,000.
He selflessly ran into gunfire to prevent deaths, and I have no doubt in my mind that he and the other officers that went in there prevented more people from dying.
If the community needs him, Dennis will always be there. When he's not in uniform, and I guarantee you when he's in uniform, if just like the other day, they needed him, he was there.
Well, loved ones say Officer Pettigo has a long road to recovery, physically, emotionally, and financially. You can find a link to that GoFundMe site launched by Chattanooga Police on our website, WRCBTV.com. Meanwhile, President Obama spoke about the 5 fallen servicemen yesterday to a group of veterans in Pittsburgh. Here's what he had to say. The president said that ISIS is working to inspire individuals to carry out attacks in the U.S., and he said the government is working hard to protect citizens and members in uniform. This as the flag at the White House was lowered to half-staff.
We don't yet know all the details behind the attack in Chattanooga. But we do know that al-Qaeda and ISIL have encouraged attacks on American soil, including against our service members. And this threat of lone wolves and small cells is hard to detect and prevent. So our entire government, along with state and local partners, we are going to keep doing everything in our power to protect the American people, including our men and women in uniform. And we honor our 5 service members killed so senselessly in Chattanooga. We are grateful to the courageous police who stopped the rampage and saved lives. And we draw strength from yet another American community that has come together with an unmistakable message to those who would try to do us harm. We will not give in to fear. You cannot divide Americans. You can never change our way of life or the values of freedom and diversity that make us Americans.
Once again, the flags lowered to half-staff yesterday in Washington, D.C., at the Capitol building, at the White House, and across federal agencies and government buildings in the U.S., including here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. More live updates throughout the morning from Lee Highway. I'm Dan Kennedy reporting live, and we'll be back after this.